So here we are on day 2 of the Plymouth competition, and what do we have here? We have yet another wonderful, crispy, golden crusted pasty with all that meaty goodness and also that whatever the other vegetables are possibly inside that may include swede goodness, sort of tumbling out in excitement, desperate to get onto the table. And that's exactly what was happening as well with the soldiers that were happening. They were tumbling out in excitement and desperate to get on the table too. And the reason being, here is yet another Alexandria against the successors kind of challenge. And this is I believe it's Lysimachid, the early successor, with all of the Thracians. And look, you can just see a whole bucket full of Thracians there. Some really old school guys. We'll get a better look at them later. The obligatory elephant, it looks like another obligatory, potentially, well, no, probably an old metal one. You've got a camp over there. You've got some fields here, rather, not quite sure what agriculture is going on there. I've tried to cluster the table up as well, get a load of fields in. I obviously didn't expect the Thracians. What an idiot. You've got a phalanx sat here. You've got a few heavy cavalry. You've got some more heavy cavalry lurking in front of the baggage. And what I've done, I've got my, well, this command, it appears, the elephant and the Thracian, and the other thing is sat here in the middle of my army, which is what really does need to happen. The pikes and all the other bits and pieces that you can see here, the javelin men, the spearmen, the couple of Thracians, are sort of extended over here, and the cavalry are way away on this wing. And I think again, this is sort of the way deployment works in ADLG. You set out your commands left to right, and I suspect I'll put this one on the left and try and shove it through this terrain. This one will be a bit more central, or shove it into this terrain and sweep round as usual with the heavy cavalry. This, I believe, may well be an unusual command. And let's see who the opponent is. And it's the Don. Here we are, two of the behemoths of the Southwest scene. You've got Tony, ex-copper, there he is, Hot Fuzz, and you've got Don of the Dead here in two of what Simon Pegg and Nick Frost's, what is known as their Cornetto trilogy of films. These were the first two. And with Plymouth and Brixham, the Southwest ADLG circuit now has a duology of competitions, which are definitely known as the pasty duology. So look at that. We've got the Don. He's ready to go. He is the Don of the Dead. They're all there to fight. And let's see what his army's doing. Well, his army's, my immediate fear was that this is a return of Steve's terrible orange laser beams. But no, it's just Don's plastic measuring stick as his wall of Thracians sweeps through that terrain, covers as much of it as possible, which is probably a good idea. It's not the nicest. And starts honing in on my poor, way outnumbered Thracians here, and my poor little slingers and javelin men. So let's have a look at that army here. What is it? Well, you've got a strategist, gives you a lot of control over terrain, which obviously with all those Thracians you want to have. And a brilliant, that really pushes up the command value as well. And pretty much it's as you can see. You've got elephant, 3 Thracian infantry, 2 heavy cavalry impact lurking around behind it. There's another elephant somewhere, which maybe we missed off the first screen. 3 more Thracians, so it's a double command. 2 commands essentially the same, actually, with heavy cavalry impact, giving them only 2 really, but 4 in total. And then an unreliable included ordinary, that's a very cheap way of getting a general, -6, of 4 phalanx sat there. And as it turns out in this particular game, the old school, very old school phalanx ends up rolling a 1. So this phalanx here on this side of the table is unreliable. It's not going to start the game until it rolls a 6, or if it's general, if it's commander-in-chief donates a couple of pips if it rolls a 5 in any given turn. So in some ways that's obviously brilliant. The phalanx aren't fighting, but in some ways doesn't make a massive amount of odds, because in my world I really want this to come forward and then the cavalry harass it, but they're going to sit there and it's going to almost force the rest of the army to sit back potentially as well. So what's happening here, you can see Alexandria, the companions, or not Alexandria actually, but one of the sub-generals of the companions, all their cloaks flowing, they're whizzing across in a super fast column to try and redeploy, get themselves into this enormous gap before these Thracians and elephants. There you go, there's both of them coming out. Maybe it was an early deployment photo, or maybe I just missed it. And what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to wheel my elephant, Thracian, pikeman over here to try and engage this end of this line, but without getting within the magic 4 UD distance of these pikemen to trigger them back into reliability. They will become reliable if anybody gets so close to them that they threaten to attack them. This phalanx is doing nothing. I suspect these Thracians are doing nothing. They're just really waiting for these guys to gallop at full speed across here into this gap and suddenly even up the odds here quite a lot. So what's going on? Well, they've seen that the cavalry are coming and they're going for it. They're absolutely rushing forwards, and why not, given the sheer numbers? 6 Thracians, 2 elephants against this sort of ragtag bag of 4 bits and bobs. So they're steaming forward. They're just really keen to get into combat. We've got a lot of keenness to fight here, and there's a lot of potential death as well. So boom, this is great. I've seen an opportunity. These guys have all got too far forward, and what I've then been able to do, let's flick back and look at it. So I've got a block of 4. This is the javelin, he's the anti-elephant specialist. These guys are spearmen. They really don't want to be fighting Thracians. They really don't want to be fighting Thracians with an overlap, but getting javelin into elephant is the magic ingredient. These light infantry have to run away when charged, and if I can get him into this elephant, I've got an overlap here. So swings and roundabouts, you guys are just going to have to take one for the team, and it's all going to be about the javelin men. 5 to a base, and they're going to rush forward, hurl javelins at that elephant, and bosh, there they go. They're in. Best anti-elephant troops in the game, pretty much, other than elite javelins, so essentially the best in the game. And I've got an overlap here, and I'm giving away an overlap there, but it's sort of the end of the line. So can I punch through? Can I get the elephant out of the game? And I've still got my heavy cavalry here to threaten anybody who tries to join in. So the other thing that's threatening them, though, is just I'm jamming this elephant, the elite spearman, my Thracian, forward as far forward as possible, just to sort of disrupt, prevent these guys from coming in too much full force to join in here. So this is just, I want to turn them, I want to turn as many of them as possible and get these heavy cavalry all gunned up behind. And you can see the phalanx is still waiting there, still doing nothing. And these guys will ideally swing around and form a line, join up with them. These are a reserve to come piling through as well where they need to go. So this 2 pikes, Thracian next to an elephant, spearman next to an elephant, 2 pikes, that really renders these heavy cavalry kind of useless. There's not a lot of targets they really want to get for there. So let's see how this develops. Well, looks like the Thracians against the spearmen, bosh, 2 hits there. Despite the overlap, there's a single hit there. And this is the risk when you get Thracians against Thracians. If either side wins, they add +1 to their winning score, because those big curved phalanx, 2-handed weapon type things that really chop through people when they start winning. So when they win big. That means all of these 3 hits units are taking 1 or 2 hits every time there's an outcome. Well, clearly they're taking 1 hit, but quite often they're taking 2, sometimes they're taking 3. They can evaporate really quickly. My javelin man stood against the elephant. Can't see any markers there, so he's obviously done better than I would have hoped he would. What's going on here? Let's get a close-up look at these old school guys with their little faces. Look at that, they're chopping away, hurling their javelins. My guys, slightly more muscular, modern Victrix guys with these homemade, this is actually a curved sword from one of the Arab cavalry sets, and then a little bit of spare spear stuck either side of the guy's hand to kind of give them a phalanx type thing. And it's still all chopping and fighting away with the elephant, bit of armor, trunks going up, pikemen are wobbling around, all sorts of old school goodness there. And over on the other side, this thing has been shoving itself forward. It's got in, it's forced some of the Thracians to come and fight them. It's tempted the heavy cavalry to come in against this Thracian. That's about as good as it's going to get for them. They're suffering for the overlap, they're suffering for the elephant, but they've got their own overlap. But even if this guy dies, I've got a couple of pikemen here ready to block this off as well. And I just want to push 2 units here through these Thracians and get them into the flank of this formation here. So over here, one of my Thracians is gone. Boom, he's gone. These guys are still fighting away. These guys are still hanging on remarkably. But the rest of the guys have actually joined in. They've just moved forwards, which is going to expose their flank if I can push through that lone Thracian. It's starting to potentially give my heavy cavalry a target there or a target there, but both would be adjacent to an elephant, not ideal. But it does give me a bit of opportunity to strike back with these impact charging cavalry. And here, over there, as I said, the Thracians are going to struggle, very much struggling against these guys, but 2 hits taken. But the pikemen are ready to deal with it if need be, and we're getting close to piling into these guys. So let's just pan back, look at the big picture. This lot still uncommitted. That's just still over the magic distance. And with this guy in trouble, the pikemen have gone in. They've slid across. They've hit the end. That's going to cause him a lot of problems. I'm now covering the potential inevitable death of this Thracian with one of Alexander's companions. I've got some more heavy cavalry here in case anything happens. The elephant's trying to get in. The pikemen are just trying to put themselves in the face of that elephant. And the other companion has come all the way around here, is waiting for these guys to come forward to pick off any loose odds and sods which might break through out of what's suddenly been a mess. And my other companion that lives over here has gone straight into that formation. So it's all a desperate struggle. The general's pushing him forward. These guys are still hanging on despite, fighting a couple of turns with no overlaps. The elephant, unfortunately, is still hanging on. There's a stick in the background, but this guy's still hanging on. This is a combat which really should have been finished a while ago. But no, it's still chugging on. Over here, you can see my pikemen and the Thracian all into these very, very old school heavy cavalry. Possibly, I suspect those will be the elite ones because they look like they've got horse armor, so these will be average. Great scores for the phalanx, 2 overlap 3 against their 1. They're going in, and there's a lot of pressure here on to stove in this flank of this formation while these guys are still not playing. So, boom, yeah, he was inevitably going to go, but that does open an opportunity for my companions to come and sort that out. It looks like these guys are fighting at some weird sort of offset angle here. So, another companion just goes straight through. They have the power to do that with furious charge, going through medium foot loose formation infantry. If they win big, and they've knocked a huge hole. And we're starting to see some markers appear there. There's a marker, a red one. There's a couple of markers behind there. This elephant is still fighting away against my javelinmen, but I'm starting to gain a bit of an upper hand here, but there has been some losses on both sides. Here, the elephant looks like the cavalry are still engaged somehow against the pikes. The elephant is now, looks like the Lysimachids have had to even throw some light horse into the elephant, so the elephant must have done something. And I've got light foot that gets trying to stop this elephant. I've got pikemen behind it, so I'm just trying to gun them all down. That line I talked about is starting to form, and it's peeled this second elephant away from this attack on this side with all the other Thracians that isn't quite going as well as it is. So this is starting to be decent, but before my companions get a chance to charge in, he's gone into the flank of my elephant. That must be its first hit by the looks of it, but he's now left himself as a remarkably tempting target for the companions to go in, and I can spin this magnetically attached guy around to give them a bit of a piking as well. So the elephant has got someone front and flank, which is less than ideal, which also means the Thracians are fighting my spearmen, which is probably less than ideal as well. But here we go. So boom, that attack kills the elephant straight away, which is a bit of a catastrophe. Leaves quite a big gap in the line, but it appears the pikemen have killed whoever was in front of them as well. And this elephant now has no choice really. It just has to go forward and take on my pikemen. There's all sorts of opportunities for flanks to go wrong here. Look at this. This Thracian's won. That's opened up potentially for these cavalry who are now being blocked by light horse. This battle is still going on. That elephant should surely have gone down long since. Mine's gone. Why hasn't the Don's gone? And here, what have we got going on here? We've just got a close-up. The pikemen are waiting for the elephant to come in. The cavalry have followed up. They've gone forward into the flank of these spearmen, which is again a bit of a disastrous catastrophe. I've still not managed to get my own companions in. That cavalry command is doing an awful lot, and it's spread over a really huge area. So maybe they're just not able to receive the order or hear the order when it's being shouted at them. And in here, bang! Then they go. The spearmen have turned around. The cavalry have gone in. This unit is now looking completely in trouble, and I've managed to bring up the other cavalrymen. Suddenly they get enough command and control to give myself a couple of overlaps on this elephant as well, so that's bad news for him. Looks like there's a companion that's got into Thracians there, stripped of their protective elephant. Suddenly they look very, very vulnerable. Bosh, there it goes. Cavalryman gone, Thracian gone, elephant gone. Suddenly there's just a huge hole opening up here in what was a very, very cutty, choppy, uppy sort of part of the enemy army, and it's starting to look like these guys may actually need to get into action. And suddenly here it goes. Yeah, here's this hole just following up, but the Thracians have got round. They're starting to come in the flank. They finally killed that brave guy on the end of the line. That's bad news for the Javelineers. They're being charged. I'm just being prevented from pushing through this terrain by this mix of light troops and skirmishers, but soon we'll be able to start sweeping them away with luck as well. And ta-da! There it goes. He must have been given the extra points, and the phalanx is back in action just as the rest of the army teeters on the brink. And
Hello, I'm Ron McHugh, head of the northern arm of the McHugh Global Carpet Empire, and I'm here because I've heard some very disturbing news. It's come to my attention that some foreign chap by the name of Wargamers Whims has been selling ADLG battle mats in, I dare say, metric sizes. This has to stop. We at the McHughs are the European sole empire that controls the distribution of carpets, and given battle mats are essentially very small carpets, this is an area we think we should continue to be in control of. So, if you want your ADLG mat, no matter how big it is or how small it is, in Axminster, Shagpile or any other form of medium density weave, we're the people you should be coming to. So, don't forget, as we say here in the McHugh Empire for Carpets, whatever you want to do, there's a McHugh for you. You can't go far wrong if you stick with a Don. So, turn your back on Wargamers Whims, don't buy any of this funny foreign muck, and we'll see you over at table on a McHugh carpet. Thanks for listening.
And after that commercial break, we're back, and this is the rather shocking state of play. Suddenly there's just been an absolute flurry of units which were on their last legs are no longer on their last legs, they're gone. If you look here, pretty much or nearly all of the right wing and probably the centre as well of the successor army has been wiped out. There's just a couple of these elite cavalry left. The pike phalanx is back in operation, but there's a lot of light troops who've just sort of drifted back. They've run away as the Thracians and the elephants have been chopped up. And over here, there's still a couple of Thracians doing okay and pushing in. From Alexander's point of view, the elephants are gone. There's a reasonable number of Thracians gone. There's some hits on things, but the phalanx is still intact. The companions are still intact. They can match off these guys. The challenge will be digging anyone out of this rough terrain. There's pretty much nothing left to do that. There's an injured spearman, there's a Thracian, but there's other guys coming in here. So this is really just a chance to, draw breath. Everything's evaporated, regroup, and just suddenly launch that final decisive attack on the phalanx to try and take this army over the edge. And let's see what happens. So yeah, this is actually that view from that I talked about just now. You can see the big trail of the dead, the pile of the dead, but there's actually still a decent number. There's a general, there's a couple of Thracians on a wound, but they can probably rescue that. No one's going to have a go at them. My javelin guys have run away. There's actually a big gap, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units here, and that's the general. 7 units, a couple more we saw back there, 8 there, 9, 10, take that to 14, 15. There's still 15 units in play, which is still a big old chunk of most armies, and this bit of the board's just got really thin. So in a way, not a lot's likely to happen here. It's very difficult to catch anybody. My cavalry have charged forward, ended up in the terrain, which is a bit of a disaster. They could get mugged now, but it should still be all right. A decent assault on the phalanx. So here is the mighty phalanx starting to assemble. The companions are getting ready to do a charge, but that's a bit of a wash. This is a bit of a wash as well. I need my cavalry around here to get that extra overlap. I'm pushing into the terrain with the Thracians. They're taking some hits. I'm pushing in with the spearmen as well, just to form a coherent line. And really, I want to be fighting equally all along here, equally here, and just forcing the overlaps into this bit of the table. But look, what we've got, because I'm trying to push all the way forward there, these cavalry who got caught in the field when they charged too long have been mugged completely. They've been hit in the flank by javelin armed cavalry, a couple of overlaps. That's actually pretty bad. That does add up, even though it's skirmishers. Once you get proper cavalry, tripping over, falling over in the fields, that's not great at all. And here we go. Suddenly we've got a pike phalanx on pike phalanx battle. I've got an overlap this end, but before my cavalry managed to get around, they've charged in. They've got an overlap on that end. So it's just an emerging, ongoing battle. In fact, these two might even be engaged before these are. That could be a couple of double overlaps. So there's a little bit of risk here, but you've still got to favour the odds of me pushing this over the line. And then my cavalry goes slamming in as well. These guys are now all in. But look, I'm picking up markers. I don't think there's any over there. This guy's just about hung on, but he's in dire straits. And the Thracians and the spearmen are just going at anything they can, but they're taking out hits as well. There's a couple of hits there, true. My javelin are just sort of facing off those people who are just out of screen. So it's really just how quickly can I knock a few more hits into this part of the table. And here it is, and boom, look at that, oh my God. One of my phalanxes is completely gone. The next one's taken a hit. This one on the end with the general's taken a couple of hits, but he's still fighting away despite my overlap. Cavalry looks like it's a bit of a wash. There's a hit here anyway. And actually, these are just exactly the same troops as mine. I'm finding it very difficult to get weight and numbers into play. My light cavalry tried to run over some light infantry. It looks like they've come off worse as well. And I'm feeding in these extra people just to sort of protect the flanks of my unit. And that, though, bizarrely, with all the other losses that we've got, takes my army down at the same time as the Don's army goes down. And, in a world of pasties, it's really, once you break open the pasty, they do start to kind of lose cohesion. And you can end up very, very quickly with just a couple of hands full of pasty bits and dice Swede. And I think both of us in this game basically ended up with a handful of dice Swede. The pasty, that's just the way it crumbles. And that was a mutual destruction.
Hello and welcome to the latest Madaxeman.com Army List ADLG podcast, in which I'm joined by Rick